Is that Mark Esper now is being put forward as acting Secretary of Defense. Jennifer, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, Melissa, it's no surprise. It was clear that acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan had hit a bit of a rough patch. There were the reports during the D-Day events that the president was seeking alternatives, and it was clear that his confirmation had stalled because the actual request for a confirmation hearing and his actual orders had not ever been sent up to the Hill. Then there was just moments ago a USA Today article that broke news that the FBI was still investigating allegations of domestic abuse that came out of a very contentious divorce proceedings involving Shanahan. And so I think it's no surprise that the president decided that this was going to be a difficult confirmation hearing. And remember, the inspector general had to look into Shanahan's involvement with Boeing and whether he had used his former position at Boeing once here in the Pentagon. He was cleared of that by the IG. But this has been a troubled nomination really from the beginning. And it was clear that the president was losing confidence in the nomination. Speaking of Mark Esper, he is currently the head of currently the Army Secretary in charge of 1.4 million soldiers and National Guardsmen. He has been leading that department and is a favorite of the president. He is a graduate, as we heard, of West Point, class of 1986. He served on active duty for a decade. He served in the Gulf War. He led the 101st Airborne and a rifle platoon, a rifle company in Europe. So he has a lot of experience. He also was the national security advisor to Senate Majority Leader Bill Frist on the Hill. So he has a lot of Hill experience. He served on the House Armed Services Committee as policy director. He has a storied family history. His uncle was a very famous journalist with the AP, the Associated Press in Vietnam, George Esper. And so this is a very interesting decision, but I think many eyebrows were raised when it was clear that the Secretary of State was heading down to CENTCOM for briefings and the acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan was not. So a lot of questions surrounding that. So now we know the reasons, and now they will want to move relatively quickly with the confirmation hearing for acting Defense Secretary Esper.
So you would say that, previously some had thought that the reason why Secretary Pompeo was going down there, and we've heard this just in the past hour, was to make it clear that things were being led by the State Department, that it was policy first and military second, and he wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page. Do you still think that that was part of it, or do you think that it was really just about that they were about to announce this change?
I think it's a combination of the two. I think it's very clear that the State Department has been in the lead here. Even when you heard Shanahan speak about the Iran crisis in the last 2 weeks, he immediately spoke of Secretary Pompeo's role and him being in the lead and the State Department being in the lead. So I think that it is a combination, but I think it was very clear from several. You note also that acting Secretary Shanahan was not over in Europe for the D-Day celebrations. Typically, a defense secretary would have been there for that. I think the writing was on the wall, unfortunately.
Jennifer, great reporting. Thank you.